what's the importance of getting back to nature? It's mostly just to do with getting back on your evolutionary track. Because realistically, for thousands upon thousands of years, the human race has adapted their surroundings to suit their delicate needs. So because of this, we are becoming more and more delicate towards what could possibly kill us off. More and more diseases will come about, which means we need more medications. So getting back to nature is really getting back to your evolutionary path. The more time that you spend outside, the more time you spend with the trees, the more time you spend eating the correct foods and doing what you need to do to get the proper amount of sunlight and vitamin D and all the proper minerals into your body and learning how to breathe properly. This is all part of getting back to nature. And when you get back to nature, you're reversing everything that has been programmed into you. The TV programs you. There's different media that programs you all day long. People are getting iPads, iPods, computers, laptops, cell phones, all sorts of different things, because they can't allow for a gap in the distractions. Because as soon as there's a gap in the distractions, that's when it allows time for one to ponder. You begin to think, you begin to process things a little bit differently. And as soon as you begin to process things differently, you begin to think about how life is not really the way that it's been given to you. And this is why you go from kindergarten to school, to elementary school, then to high school, or to middle school, then high school, then to college, university, and then you go right into working, and then meanwhile they're just force-feeding you all this junk food, all this stuff that alters your junk DNA, which is a written code. That's why that has codons, and right now people only have about 20 activated codons when there's about 60 or so, I believe. So, getting back to nature, like I said, it's getting back on your evolutionary path. The thing is, when we change everything to adapt us, like the temperature in our houses, the amount of light that we want to be subjected to, the temperature of our water, to make sure the temperature of our bodies is perfectly, like all these things, and as they are necessary, it's also necessary to be exposed to things. There's no more exposure in life for most people anymore, and they just spend most of their life sitting inside and everything is handed to them very perfectly, except nobody goes out there and does things themselves, so they're not really getting the experience necessary to get the knowing. And a lot of these people will do things like they'll hunt their food with exterior weapons, or we covered the ground in concrete to make traveling easier. Traveling which we do by cars, and then we wonder why we have to have insoles for our shoes to keep our feet proper so our backs don't get messed up. You know what I'm saying? We sleep on springs that probably drain you of energy because they are vortexes of metal. And there's just all these different things out there that you have to allow yourself to break away from in order to experience what is true, what is really real for you. I used to sit in high school and sit in the hallway and watch everybody rushing from class to class, including the teachers. A lot of them were trying to fit in time for snacks, scarfing food down, drinking their coffee real quick to stay awake so that they could try and learn something, not because they wanted to, but because there was a test coming up, right? Or because the principal or somebody was going to be in on watching the class, so the teacher would get nervous because, you know what I'm saying, there's this hierarchy that has to always happen, and we're always trying to be better than the next person, which is just another way to not allow a gap in the distraction. The thing is, we cannot be trying to be better than the next person. We have to try and be better than what we are right now. Every day you have an opportunity, and every moment you have an opportunity realistically. So why would you want to spend most of your time inside? The thing is, we have all these problems, but a lot of the problems, after they have been started, they are perpetuated by ourselves. So what I mean by this is the so-called elite won't have as bad karma, and this is to do with the fact that when you impose something on somebody in a way that it allows them to have the free will to do what they want, then the person is taking it upon themselves. And at that certain point, the karma is no longer directed at the person who originally gave you the circumstance. So you have the free will to sit inside and watch TV or stay on the computer all day long, or you can go outside. You know what I mean? You have the choice to eat a bag of chips or to eat a bag of lettuce or something. You have, you know what I'm saying? Like, you always have the choice to do what you think is right for the moment. But we also have what I talk about often, known as cognitive dissonance, where we do what we know we weren't originally supposed to do because we can find excuses that make it temporarily okay. The problem is we perpetuate that, and we've gotten so far off track that humans are no longer evolving on the mass scale anymore. It's something you have to take upon yourself, because like I said, it is a free choice, free will universe, and everything is your choice. If you take part in the voting system, then you are associating yourself with that. As soon as you take part in anything, you are associating yourself with that movement. So you have to be really wise about what you speak into existence, because like I said, your DNA works in a code. It's programmable by your language. And a lot of people don't really know this, that your thoughts and your language, what you speak into existence, is going to program who you really are. It's important that when you have a glass of water, you speak good fortune into the water. You speak loving affirmations into the water, and you thank the water for being there and for coming through the harshness that it had to get through the pipes where it was bleached from the last time it was used and whatnot, and it goes through all these rough right turn angles and up and down that it's not used to, because natural water just flows through the stream, and while it can crash upon rocks, all those things are smooth surfaces and it flows. These pipes are built like this, and it's just not the natural path, and it's shaking up the water. So really, a lot of people don't like to drink the tap water, but you can do affirmations and positive vibrations and speak into the water or sing into the water, hum into the water, do whatever you want into the water, and it will change it molecularly to the point where drinking this water after doing this can literally heal you completely. It'll help to remove clots inside your blood. It'll help to do all sorts of different things, because your water is a very important part of your system. Okay, you're majoritarily water. You're 65 to 90% water, depending upon your age and your water intake and whatnot. So these are different things to be aware of. And you can put certain crystals in your water, but the thing that you need to be cautious of is making sure that you're not putting in crystals that are water soluble. If you're putting in crystals that are water soluble, then they will be dissolving into your water, and that's not really what you're looking for. That can cause a lot of other health problems, but again, that's why it's important to do your research on everything, right? So getting back to nature, it's reversing the process that you've done to changing everything around you to suit your delicate needs, and getting out there and trying to adapt to what is happening on Earth, because the Earth is moving toward the sun right now. We're not going to be the third rock from the planet much longer. We're going to be the second rock. And if we're not allowing ourselves to be with the changes of the planet, then how are you planning on staying on the planet? How are you planning on surviving? If you can't take the outdoor heat and cold and whatnot, what happens if you lose your electricity? What happens if they cut your electricity off on you? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not trying to scare anybody, but these are all things that you have to be aware of. You have to learn how to let nature heal you. It will take you back to where you need to be, and it will, the sounds, the birds, all these, the squirrels, every single thing out there, chipmunks, and all those netter beings, they're all going to, their sounds, if you focus on those sounds, you can actually allow those sounds to again heal things in your body, different tissues and different fibers, because everything is played out by vibrations, and a lot of people don't respect vibrations enough. They don't respect sacred geometry and vibrations enough. Everything that you see around you has to do with sounds and vibrations as well as geometry. So these are things that you need to be aware of, and we need to give a little bit more respect to these things. We need to be on the planet that we're here to be on. We're not here to change it to adapt to who we are. We're here to be on this planet, and you were born here. You were brought back into this world so many times over and again. And right now we have a remarkable time on Earth to be allowed to change our DNA and to unlock different abilities and different things that we have capable inside of us that a lot of people don't necessarily believe in yet because they haven't experienced it. So that's really the importance of getting back to nature. Namaste. Ashe. Hotep.